Hello guys, welcome back. My name's Nathan, and today I'm going to be ranking every NHL team's best contract. Now with the salary cap getting higher and higher, the amount of great contracts in the NHL continues to rise. But who do I see as the best contracts in the league, and what is every NHL team's best contract? Watch till the end to find out. When it comes to the best contracts in the league, I like to look at pure value. A contract could be $8 million, a contract could be $2 million, but it's all about the value on the player and what he provides for that contract. And that's what you'll see throughout this list. You'll see some contracts that are 1-year deals, some contracts that are like 7-year deals. It really is spread apart, especially when it comes to team to team. Now, if you watched any other ranking video, you know that in these ranking videos we go alphabetical order, Anaheim Ducks down to the Winnipeg Jets, and starting us off with the best Ducks contract, I have personally John Gibson. Goaltender, age 26, an American-born stud, which is always great to see. And when it comes to John Gibson, he has a $6.4 million contract for 8 more years on the deal. When it was signed, a lot of people were against this deal, but I was kind of fine with it. I really want to see John Gibson prove himself more, and this past season he really did. In my opinion, John Gibson is the best goaltender in the world, and I get him at $6.4 million. It's a pretty awesome steal. Moving on to my best Arizona Coyotes contract, I have Brad Richardson. Center at age 34, Canadian-born, and Richardson had a great year this past season offensively. 66 games, got 19 goals for 27 points, but the offense isn't really what Brad Richardson brings. It's that defense, and his defense, especially the Coyotes, has been awesome so far. He's a great defensive guy, and with his contract, he has 1 year at $1.25 million. After this next season, he'll be a UFA, but the shorthanded goals he was able to rack up and the defense he already has is more than worth it. Moving on to my pick for the best Boston Bruins contract, I have David Pastrnak. Right winger at age 23, Czech Republic born. He was able to put home 81 points in the regular season past season, just offensively being an absolute stud when he was healthy. He has a $6.66 million deal for 4 more years, which obviously is just amazing. He's one of my favorite players in the NHL though, and the offense that he brings at 6.66666 is pretty awesome. Moving on to my pick for the best Buffalo Sabres contract, I have Colin Miller. Defenseman, age 26, Canadian-born. He was able to put 29 points on the board in 65 games in Vegas last season. Wasn't really the best fit with Vegas and never really was, but with Buffalo we'll get a big opportunity. He has 3 more years left on his contract at $3.8 million, and the offense he already brings I think is well worth it. He's solid defensively, and for Buffalo he'll get a much bigger sample size and likely will be a lot better too. Next up, moving to my best Calgary Flames contract, I have Johnny Gaudreau. Left winger, age 25, American-born stud by the way. He was able to put up 99 points this past season with Calgary, being a big factor for them. And his contract has been good pretty much ever since he signed it. He has 3 more years left on it at $6.7 million. It's always been a good contract, but the way he broke out this past season makes it one of the best contracts in the NHL right now. Moving on to my best bunch of jerks contracts, I have Brett Pesce. Defenseman at age 24, another American-born stud. I'm kind of seeing a trend right here. Let's keep it going. But when it comes to Pesce being a defensive defenseman, he was able to put up 29 points on a pretty mad Carolina team offensively, but defensively, he's one of the best defensive defensemen in the NHL. Now, he has 5 more years left in his contract at $4.0 million, and to be one of the best defensive guys in the league while also putting 29 points offensively is not bad whatsoever. And moving on to my best Chicago Blackhawks contract, in my opinion, I have Erik Gustafsson. Defenseman at age 27, Swedish-born stud, and Gustafsson this past season with Chicago had a breakout year, 60 points in 79 games, and the offense is certainly there. And while I would say it's a little bit fluky in his end, he still has some great offensive ability. The defense leaves some to be determined, but I think offense is what he definitely specializes in. Now, he has 1 more year left on his contract, so will be a UFA after next season, but is at a $1.2 million deal. And getting 60 points for that contract is pretty good value for Chicago. Moving on to the best contract on the Colorado Avalanche, and in my opinion, my 100% correct opinion, I have Nathan MacKinnon. Center, age 23, a Canadian, and I could go on and on about how good Nathan MacKinnon is. You guys already know he's a pretty good player. He has 4 more years left on his deal right now at $6.3 million. Right now he's in the prime of his career at age 23, so he's really maximizing that value. And the Colorado Avalanche have a big argument that he might be the best contract in the NHL. And if you think he's the best contract in the NHL, I honestly wouldn't blame you. It's that good. Now moving on to the Columbus Blue Jackets' best contract, in my opinion, it is Seth Jones. Defenseman at age 24, Texas-born stud, which also adds to it. And we all know how good Seth Jones is. Fantastic elite two-way defenseman, arguably a top 10 defenseman in the NHL right now. And Seth Jones just has a ridiculous contract, in a good way for Columbus. 3 more years left on it at $5.4 million. At age 24, he's in the prime of his career right now. And at 5.4, that's just kind of ridiculous. Now moving on to my first favorite team, the Dallas Stars, and I will happily pick as the Stars' best contract, John Klingberg. Defenseman at age 26, Swedish-born stud, and in my opinion, one of the best offensive defensemen right now in the NHL. And his contract has always been good. Ever since he signed it, there was obviously some concerns there over longevity, but it has worked out as a whole run for the Dallas Stars. Currently 3 more years on the contract at $4.2 million. And the offense alone is worth it. The defense also is pretty solid, a lot more improved than it used to be, but just overall, John Klingberg might be the most valuable player for the Dallas Stars, and he's shown that over the past couple of years. Now moving on to the Detroit Red Wings' best contract, I have Anthony Mantha. Right winger, age 24, Canadian, and when it comes to Mantha, he was set to break his pace this past season. Unfortunately, wasn't able to stay completely healthy, but to me, had a little bit of a breakout year. Now his contract is 1 year left at $3.3 million. At age 24, he'll be an RFA next season. He will get paid handsomely next season because he's an awesome player, but right now at 3.3, that is some excellent value for Detroit. Moving on to the Edmonton Oilers' best value contract, I have Oscar Klefbom. Defenseman, age 26, Swedish-born stud, another one right there. And when it comes to Klefbom, I've always been a huge fan of him. When he is healthy, I think he's a top 4 defenseman at least, and definitely top 2 for the Edmonton Oilers. And his contract has usually been pretty good in these past few years. He right now has 4 more years left in the contract at $4.1 million. And the offense that he brings, especially in the power play, I think is super valuable for Edmonton. When healthy, is arguably their best defenseman. And to me, it's not even close. Moving on to the Florida Panthers' best value contract, I have Alexander Barkov. Center, age 23, Finnish-born elite right there. And Barkov obviously is a pretty good player. You guys know that. Great offensively. Very solid defensively too. He has 3 more years left on his contract as the captain at $5.9 million. And Barkov, yes, did have a little bit of a downgrade defensively last season, but usually he's a defensive stud. And the offense he was able to break out to, especially on the power play, is easily worth, I would say, $10 million. He's worth that kind of player, and at 5.9 for a team like Florida, they're very glad to have that. Moving on to the LA Kings' best contract, and honestly, this might be the hardest team to list any names out there, because for the most part, the player is either bad or just probably overpaid. But I found one player that's like, okay, that's a pretty good contract, that being Paul LeDuc. Defenseman at age 26, American-born stud. And Paul LeDuc is like at an $800K deal, something like that. It's really not that major. I think he's a decent defensive man, though, probably worth more like $1.5 or $2 million. But that's exactly what I had to work with LA, because their best players are Kopitar, Doughty. I would say both of them are overpaid right now, and then you got guys like Toffoli who are also overpaid. I honestly just couldn't choose for LA, so Paul LeDuc is my guy. Moving on to the best value contract from the Minnesota Wild, in my opinion, it is Eric Staal. Center at age 34, Canadian, and we all know that he's rejuvenated his career with the Minnesota Wild, but he's still very, very good even at age 34. He had a little bit of a downgrade of a year, but is still a great impactor offensively. And for the Minnesota Wild, a team that has no really great centers, Eric Staal is the guy. He right now has 2 more years in his contract at $3.2 million, and the offense he provides is something I would easily pay for, especially at $3 million. Moving on to my best Montreal Canadiens contract, I have Tomas Tatar, our left winger, age 28, Czech Republic born, and admittedly, I was going to pick Brendan Gallagher, but I'm like, I've talked about him a lot on this channel the past couple of weeks, so I'm going to give some other Montreal Canadiens players some credit, and Tomas Tatar definitely deserves that. He had a breakout year over the Montreal Canadiens, just being an absolute stud offensively, and while the points aren't elite, I think his play and his drive and his impact certainly was, and again, he has a great contract too. 2 more years at $4.8 million, a contract that Vegas didn't want to pay, Montreal takes it in the Pacioretty trade, and they're pretty happy about it right now. And moving on to my best Nashville Predators contract, I have Mattias Ekholm, defenseman at age 29, Swedish-born stud. Another great Swedish-born defenseman, by the way. And when it comes to Ekholm, he has 3 more years left on his contract at $3.7 million. And Ekholm was one of the premier defensemen in the NHL, with some great offense too, but was able to put up 44 points, which is not bad whatsoever. Some great offense and some elite defense, and only $3.7 million. I'll definitely take that. Moving on to the best contract from the New Jersey Devils, I have Will Butcher. Defenseman at age 24, American-born stud, which is always great to see. And I think Butcher is one of the sneaky, amazing offensive defensemen in the NHL right now. Did get 30 points, which aren't elite numbers, but I think his impact, and even strength and on the power play, just cannot go unnoticed. This past season, of course, got a new contract from New Jersey, 3 more years at $3.7 million. And honestly, once I saw that, I knew it was going to be a steal, and I think it will be in the next few years too. Moving on to the New York Islanders' best contract, and when it comes to the Islanders, it was a little bit hard to pinpoint one guy because they have a lot of okay, that's pretty decent contracts, but nothing that really stands out as amazing. But I pick one guy, and that one guy is Ryan Pulock. Now, if you watch my underrated players video, you know that I do like Pulock quite a bit. Offensively, has a ton of punch, and at age 24, has a lot more to give. He right now has 1 more year left on his deal, then being an RFA, right now at $2 million flat. I think he should get paid by that time, and will. Again, he had a little bit of a breakout season offensively, but definitely will stay consistent next season. Moving on to the New York Rangers' best value contract, in my opinion, I have Mika Zibanejad. Center at age 26, Swedish-born stud right there. And Zibanejad offensively had a little bit of a breakout year on a team that offensively was not that great. Got 74 points in 82 games, which is obviously fantastic. And he has a great contract too. Right now, 3 more years on his contract at $5.3 million. Right now, in the prime of his career, age 26, he will be a beast next season with New York, as long as he pairs with Artemi Panarin. That line of Panarin and Zibanejad and Kakko will be monstrous. And moving on to the Ottawa Senators' best contract, in my amazing opinion, 100% true opinion, I have Dylan DeMelo. Defenseman at age 26, Canadian, and honestly when it comes to Ottawa, they just don't have a lot of guys that they actually do pay. But DeMelo, I guess they do pay. They have him in a $900K contract, not in ELC, so I guess that does count. He got 22 points this past season, which on Ottawa, he's actually pretty good. Moving on to the Philadelphia Flyers' best contract. Now, there were a few contracts in Philadelphia I'm like, okay, that is very good. But one stood out, that being Sean Couturier. Center at age 26, a Canadian, and we all know how good Sean Couturier is, but he is amazing offensively, amazing defensively, and just all around is one of the better centers in the NHL today. He has 3 more years on his contract at $4.33 million, and that, to me, is just insane. 3 more years of Sean Couturier in his prime will be amazing at $4.3 million. Next up, going to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and for my best Pens contract, I have Jake Guentzel. Center at age 24, American-born stud, and this past season had a breakout year. 40 goals, 76 points, just overall being an absolute offensive powerhouse. And he has a great contract too, in my opinion. He has right now 5 more years left on his deal at $6 million. Right now, pretty much in his prime and entering his prime, he will be fantastic, as long as Sidney Crosby is his line mate. Moving on to the San Jose Sharks' best contract, I could choose a couple other guys, but I gotta get my boy Kevin Money into the bank. He's an absolute stud, right winger, age 23, American-born, which is always a good plus. This past season, got 56 points in 82 games overall, and shared a breakout year for a lot of other Sharks teammates. And going as an RFA, I thought he could get $3-4 million possibly. He gets $1 million, 1 year, and that was one of the biggest surprises of this offseason. Just an absolute steal of a contract. And while it doesn't have longevity really, it's still freaking amazing. Moving on to the St. Louis Blues, the Stanley Cup champions' best contract. There are a few to choose from, but I have my boy Oskar Sundqvist, a right winger slash left winger, age 25, Swedish-born stud. This past season, Sundqvist had a very good year with St. Louis, obviously winning the Stanley Cup. In the regular season, got 31 points overall, and the playoffs was just an offensive beast for St. Louis. He got, I think, rewarded by a contract this past offseason, 4 more years for Sundqvist at $2.7 $6.75 million, and a lot of it has to do with his playoff run that I think really influenced my opinion on him, but I think he's a great depth player, and for St. Louis will be super useful in the future. Moving on to the Tampa Bay Lightning, my second favorite team, and for a best value contract for the Lightning, I have Victor Hedman. Defenseman, age 28, Swedish-born, amazing stud right there, and Hedman arguably for a lot of people is the best defenseman in the league, should get paid $10 million, but he's just a hair under, to say the least. Now, he has 6 more years on his contract at $7.8 million. And as a Tampa fan, I just love Steve Yzerman for what he did. Just the contracts after contracts of amazingness. And Victor Hedman at 7.8 is just an absolute masterpiece. Moving on to the Toronto Maple Leafs best contract, there were a few guys that were very, very good, guys like Freddie Anderson, who are criminally underpaid, but to pick anybody else other than Morgan Rielly, I think it would just be a disservice to him and his contract. He defenseman at age 25, Canadian, and when it comes to Morgan Rielly, we all know how good offensively he is, very solid defensively too, but offense is what he brings, even strength on the power play, he really does do it all. He gets paid for 3 more years of Toronto at $5 million straight, and for the offense he provides alone, it's just absolutely ridiculous. He's getting paid $5 million. Let's be real here. Now moving on to the Vancouver Canucks best contract, I have future captain Bo Horvat. Center at age 24, Canadian, and Bo Horvat is great both offensively and defensively, and is getting just criminally underpaid, man. Of course, he's going for 4 more years with Vancouver at $5.5 million. I think a couple of years ago, this would have just been an okay contract. For what we've seen with Bo Horvat so far, at least in the last couple of years, he's definitely proven himself as not just worthy of that contract, but a lot more. And for a guy that likely will be the captain of Vancouver at 5.5, that's a pretty good contract for them. And moving on to my third favorite team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and for their most valuable and best contract, I have one of my boys, Shea Theodore. Defenseman at age 24, a Canadian, and Shea Theodore is great both offensively and defensively, but offense is what really gets underrated when it comes to him. 79 games played with Vegas last season, got 37 points overall, but again, like some other defensemen, maybe guys like Will Butcher, he doesn't just do the points, but he just has such great driving of play, such a great impact for the Vegas Golden Knights. He has 6 more years left on this deal, which as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, I just love, at $5.2 million. I think Shea is honestly at least worth $6 million for the offense he provides alone. And he also is not bad at all defensively. Moving on to the Washington Capitals best contract, I have one of their best players of all time, Nicklas Backstrom. Center, age 31, Swedish-born stud, and obviously Nicklas Backstrom is a pretty good center. I think a lot of you guys know that already. He's pretty good. And when it comes to his contract, while he only has 1 year left on it, it is a pretty awesome contract at $6.7 million. And for the Washington Capitals to get that kind of value, again, they've been kind of a cap-strapped team for a long time now, but 6.7 for Backstrom is just disgusting in a good way. And last but not least, we are going to the Winnipeg Jets, and for my best Jets contract, I have Mark Scheifele. Center, age 26, Canadian. And when it comes to Mark Scheifele, again, I don't need to tell you guys that he's a good player because Mark Scheifele is a good player. He got 84 points this past season. He's a pretty good player at that. His contract is pretty awesome, too, for Winnipeg. He has 5 more years left on it at $6.1 million. And that is just disgusting. I don't think Mark Scheifele is as good as some people might say, but the offense alone that he brings is easily worth that, and a lot more too. But again, when it comes to the best contracts in the league, I always like to look for value and how underpaid every player might be. And when it comes to underpaid players, I probably would say Nathan MacKinnon probably has the best contract right now. Just looking through all the contracts we've seen in this video, honestly, Nathan MacKinnon may be the 3rd best player on the planet right now. At that contract, he's honestly just ridiculous, and words can't put into place how good that contract is. But of course, with this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down those comments down below. So let me know what you think about my picks, what you agree with, what you disagree with, let me know. And of course, the big question on to you, who do you think are the best contracts in the NHL right now? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you should click this card right here to watch my video on every NHL team's most underrated player. I'm serious. Click it right now. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my picks, what you agree with, what you disagree with. I'm Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.